All right, let's just jump right in. If you've ever poured your heart into a Google Healthcare ad only to see that dreaded disapproved notice, yeah, you know the feeling. It's like hitting a brick wall. It can stop a whole marketing launch dead in its tracks. But today, we are going to crack that code. We've got a 2025 checklist that's going to turn all that frustration into a super clear, repeatable process. I mean, this quote just says it all, right? The stakes are just so high. We're not talking about just one little ad. We're talking about an entire campaign all ready to launch, just sitting there, burning time and money. Patient outreach, revenue, it's all on the line. So what if I told you the real fix has almost nothing to do with writing better ad copy? Sounds crazy, I know. So here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we'll dig into that disapproved dilemma. Then we'll talk about a whole new philosophy to fix it. We're going to build your toolkit, navigate the big hurdles, and finally, make sure you can stay live and stay honest for the long haul. Let's do it. Okay, first up, the disapproved dilemma. And here's the big secret. It's probably not your copywriting. Seriously. The #1 reason healthcare ads get shot down isn't because of some flashy promise or a weak call to action. Nope. It's almost always about getting your paperwork in, but in the wrong order. The source material has this perfect analogy. It's like queuing at the wrong window on a rainy morning. You're doing the work, just in the wrong place. It's a process problem, not a creative one. So really, this whole approval thing comes down to clearing 3 big walls. But here's the catch, and this is so important. You have to clear them in the right order. Think of it like a video game level. You can't skip ahead. First, certification. You got to get your site certified by a body like LegitScript if that's a requirement. Then, verification. You prove your provider's credentials for whatever channel you're using. And only after you've done those 2 things do you even think about policy fit, which is making sure your ad copy and targeting are all lined up with the rules. And that leads us right to the core solution. It's a mindset, a whole philosophy really, paper first, pixels second. It's simple, but it changes everything. What it means is you get all your documentation locked down. We're talking licenses, provider numbers, legal addresses, all of it, before you write a single word of ad copy, before a single pixel gets designed. Paperwork first, creative second, always. So how does that philosophy actually look in practice? Well, it turns into this really clear 4-step order of operations for 2025. And if you follow these steps in this exact sequence, the whole approval process stops being a guessing game and becomes, well, almost boringly predictable. You certify, then you verify, then you geofence your ads so they only show up where you're licensed, and only at the very end do you publish some simple, policy-friendly ad copy. That's the recipe. All right, so how in the world do you keep track of all this paper? Well, you build what we're going to call a cert pack. Think of this as your secret weapon. It's your practical toolkit, one single, centralized, super organized folder that has every single document a reviewer could possibly ask for. This is your single source of truth. And trust me, it's going to be what saves your launch day. So what goes inside this magical cert pack? We break it down into 3 simple buckets: A, B, and C. A is for all your business and licensing proofs, your legal docs, state licenses, that kind of stuff. B is for your website must-haves, things that have to be crystal clear on your site, like your HIPAA notice. And C is for the Google side stuff, like picking the right categories. Now, here's a pro tip, and this is a big one. Make sure the legal address in your A documents matches the address in your website footer in B. Like, exactly, down to the comma and the suite number. It matters. And look, I know this sounds like a ton of work, but it doesn't have to take weeks. You can get this whole cert pack built in about 5 days. The secret? Give people ownership. For the first couple of days, it's all about gathering the facts. Get your ops, clinical, and legal teams to round up all the documents. Then, for days 3 to 5, you do something really smart. You kick off the certification and verification processes at the same time. You run them in parallel. That move alone is a huge time saver. And what's the payoff for all this upfront work? Well, check this out. A neat cert pack is worth about 2 to 3 weeks of avoided review churn. You know what I'm talking about? That endless, frustrating email chain with the review teams. Getting this pack right can save you weeks of that headache. That is a huge return on investment for just a few days of getting organized. Okay, so we've got the system down. We know about paper first, pixels second, and we've got our cert pack. Now let's tackle a couple of let's call them the key hurdles. These are the 2 areas where people trip up the most: telemedicine and NPI verification. Let's master them.
Now, this is a really important one to get right. When is NPI verification mandatory? Well, it depends. If you're running local services ads, LSAs, it's 100% mandatory. It's not step 1, it's step 0. You absolutely have to do it, and Google is going to check each provider's NPI against the official registry. But for regular search and display ads, it's not always required. Now, you still need your other identity checks, but knowing this difference is key to knowing where to focus your energy first.
Okay, let's talk telemedicine. The absolute #1 rule of the road here is geography is truth. What that means is care follows the patient's location. So you can only target your ads to states where you are licensed to operate, period. And you have to be super explicit about this on your website. Ditch the vague available nationwide claims, unless you can back it up. Instead, list the states you serve and even put a last updated date in your footer. Be totally upfront. Let your license map do the talking for you.
So, you did it. Your ads are approved. That's a huge win, right? But it's not the finish line. Because policies are always shifting, provider lists change, websites get updated. The final piece of this puzzle isn't just getting live, it's staying live. It's all about maintaining that compliance.
And the way to do this is to think about compliance just like you think about website uptime. You need a simple, repeatable cycle, a little maintenance routine. So maybe every 45 days, you just scan Google's healthcare policy pages. Every week, you run a quick check on your site to make sure your HIPAA language is still there. Every month, you do a little hygiene on your provider NPIs, especially for LSA. And you just keep a simple log of any changes you make. See? It's not about putting out fires, it's about steady, proactive work.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? The ad that stays live is tied to a tiny, relentless checklist. Long-term success in this game isn't about some dramatic last-minute save. It's about the quiet, consistent, almost boring work of just checking the boxes. That's what creates stable campaigns that keep on delivering.
So if there's one single thing you take away from all this, please let it be this. The fix is process, not promise. The secret to getting your healthcare ads approved and keeping them live has nothing to do with writing flashy, promise-heavy copy. It's all about building a rock-solid, document-first process that basically screams, "We are legit," to any reviewer who looks at it. And that brings me to my last question for you. I get it, this can all feel like a lot. But what if you could do something right now, in the next 15 minutes, that could save you literally days of review time later on? Here's what you're going to do. Your next 15 minutes, open up your Google Drive or whatever you use and just create these 5 empty folders. That's it. certpack/A_entity, /A_licenses, B_website, C_Google, and changelog. Just doing that simple action, it builds a skeleton for your cert pack. It gives you instant momentum. You're turning this abstract idea into a real, concrete first step. And that is how you go from chasing approvals to commanding them.